Oh boy, so here we are, what is this, Tuesday, March 10th? So less than a week before we leave. No matter how you cut it, is less than a week. By this time next week we will be in Colonial Williamsburg, doing whatever it is you do in Colonial Williamsburg. So the weather around here right now is kind of, it's so sad. It's so sad. So it's like 45 degrees outside, which actually feels pretty good, except for the fact that it started raining this afternoon, and so now it's like a 45-degree rain. So when you're used to like as cold as it's been, when it gets to be 45 degrees, it feels really warm and it feels really nice. And you're like, wow, this is what it's like for it to be 45 degrees. All the way up until it starts pouring down rain, and you're like, oh, this is what 45-degree rain feels like. You know what I'm saying? So it started raining. I guess midway through today, and so now it's just kind of getting to be that cold rain, and it really is funny, like with how you feel in the weather, because I swear to you, when it's 45 degrees and dry, especially 45 degrees and sunny and dry, it feels amazing, it feels wonderful, it feels great, you're just on top of the world. When it's 45 degrees and cloudy and rainy, and you just, at least I don't know about you, I just want to curl up into a ball. So we've just been continuing on with getting everything ready for leaving next week. It's weird. So the house sitter that we have, that'll be here for the next year, she's coming tonight to drop off some items. So now that they're going to be moving into the place, and that's kind of like a weird thing, like, What? You want to put your stuff in here? Oh yeah, I guess we're leaving, so therefore you should be able to put your stuff here, right? So they're bringing that over. Otherwise, just the normal trucking along stuff. Some more stuff went off to Goodwill today. This will be the last of the Goodwill trips. So stuff goes off to Goodwill. We got Tonto. Tonto had his grooming appointment today. So we took Tonto off to get groomed, and so he is now all clean and de-haired, de-furred or whatever. With corgis, whenever you deal with corgis, something to realize is they have 2 coats of fur. And what I will tell you is, unless you really love that type of dog, never buy a dog with 2 coats of fur. Because corgis, one of the reasons I like corgis are work dogs, right? Like whenever you go out and buy a dog, whenever you get a dog, especially a purebred dog of some sort, they're all designed to do something. So some of them are designed to be lap dogs, some of them are designed to be hunting dogs, some of them are designed to be security dogs. What I like about corgis, and why corgi is like my breed, is these buggers are built to be work dogs. They are the grinders of the dog world. And so basically, like when you look at a corgi, why they look so odd is because they have like the beefy body of a bigger dog, but they have the short legs. Well, the reason is for those little short legs is because they're herding dogs. And so when they're nipping at cows' feet, the feet of cattle, the protection mechanism for corgis, the idea is that they would give them such short legs that when the cow goes to kick, that it will literally kick over the dog. So the dog's here and the cow kicks and is actually kicking. That was actually one of their security mechanisms for the corgis. And even if they do get kicked, they kind of like roll over like an egg. They just right. If you take a big tall dog and you kick the hell out of that dog, it's going to be a bad thing. And the idea with the corgis is that they're just so stocky and blocky with these short little legs that when a cow does go to kick, it'll be over it. And even if it does kind of catch it, the idea is it will kind of flip and be able to take that, right? Well, with that, being a working dog, the thing is they have 2 coats of fur. So they have the top layer of fur, which is like the normal layer of fur you normally see. But then they have like the fuzzy underlayer. And so the fuzzy underlayer is so that they can be out working on days like this. I mean, the idea of these little corgis is, again, they are the grinders of the dog world when they're out there doing their job. And so they can be out in all kinds of crappy ass weather and be perfectly fine with it because they've got those 2 coats of fur. The issue is that The lower level coat of fur, the one that's so fluffy and allows them to stay warm in bad environments, it sheds. Oh my golly, it sheds. The hair just comes out. So normally we take we did take the Korgs, and now we take Tonto like once every 2.5 months, so all of that hair can come out, because if it doesn't get washed out and brushed out and all that kind of thing, they really do shed just a tremendous amount. Now, one thing to keep in mind is everybody talks about how bad, like, people talk about how the job market is and all that kind of stuff. The one thing that I will say is, at least in our area, dog groomers seem to be the way to go. Our groomer who does this, I mean, I don't know how many dogs they do per day, but they have between 1 to 3 groomers on staff at any one time, and they are literally booked. They are booked solid 2 months in advance. So that's why we kind of do it every 2 months, because you literally have to book that far in advance. So we took Tonto out, we got him groomed today. We were thinking about shaving him. So Tonto has a lot of hair, even for a corgi. He's a very hairy corgi. And so we did shave him 1 year, a number of years ago, and we were thinking about with the trip this year, we were thinking about shaving him again. But then it kind of like got all cold and rainy, and we were thinking, that would be such a sad Tonto. Like, Tonto, when it's 80 degrees, and he's shaved, is a very happy boy. Like, if it was like 45 degrees and raining and Tonto was shaved, oh, poor Tonto. So we decided not to shave him today, but we probably will shave the little Tonto somewhere on the trip, because again, once it gets up to like 80 or so, his coat is just so thick and furry, and especially now that we're going to be out on the road, that will make him feel better. So we took Tonto out today, and otherwise, like I say, just everything kind of trucking along. And one little topic I want to talk about today. Oh, and beyond that, I did go out and hike over at, what was it, Lake Roland. Lake Roland. That was one of the funny things, again, with modern society, is we get trapped into so many patterns that we do. And it's one of those funny things, like, you don't even realize the patterns that you get locked into. So, so I dropped off Tonto at the groomers today, and it took them about an hour and a half to actually be able to groom him. And it was funny, because when I walked out of the groomers, the thing I was thinking is, what am I going to do for an hour and a half? Because it took about 20 minutes to drive there and 20 minutes back. So I didn't really want to go home, because basically all I would be doing was driving back and forth between the house. And it's like, what should I do? And then it's funny how you get into these weird things in the modern, these weird patterns in the modern world. Because if it was like, I don't know, should I go to the mall? I don't know, maybe I should go shop at REI. Maybe I should catch a movie. And then there was like this weird thought that hit me. And it was like, or I could just go take a nice walk by Lake Roland. It's like, wow. And it is funny, like, in the modern world, at least for me, like, how much, like, simply taking a walk, you kind of forget that that's actually entertainment. Like, when I was a kid, or when I was younger, not that many years ago, like, going out and taking a 2 or 3 or 5 mile walk was just something I kind of did in due course. It wasn't like going there's going hiking, like, we're gonna go hiking today, which is its own thing, but like simply going out and walking, simply for the sake of walking, used to be such a big part of my life. And it was funny today, because it really was. Like, I walked out of that groomers, and it was a nice day before the rain started. And the first thing do I go to the mall? Do I see a movie? Do I do all of these consumptive things? And it really was. I mean, I really honestly laughed at myself when I realized, it was like, there's a really nice trail that I can walk up and down that, that'll take at least an hour and a half. I was like, yeah, I can do that. So again, one of those things to be thinking about, like when the whole, in the normal life is, are you doing things that are healthy for you? Because, if I had gone to the mall or if I had gone to the movies, it's not really something that I particularly wanted to do and really wouldn't have benefited me at all. Going out into the woods and taking a nice little, I walked 5 miles in that period of time. I did a nice little 5-mile walk. I got to calm myself. I got to see the little woodpeckers and see the water, and it was such a nice thing. And it's so weird that kind of nice thing is not the first thing that I would have thought of. One of those things to think about. But beyond that, the little topic I want to talk to you guys today is the whole idea of killing your TV. Because this is a new thing that's going to be coming up with our trek for the next year going across the country, is we've been talking about the whole idea of what do we do about TV. Because what you find is when you buy these little RV trailers, they have a little place, all of them have a little place to put a TV, and almost all these RV parks actually have cable access. So when you pull in and you plop down your RV or your trailer, you plug in your water, you plug in your sewer, you plug in your electricity, and they've got a little cable connection so you can have cable running directly into your little thing so that you can have TV no matter where you go in the country. So my wife and I have been talking about this. Do we get a TV? Do we mount the TV? Because there's not a TV provided with this particular trailer. It's something that you have to add on, but again, it's no big deal. So we've been thinking about it. And the decision that we actually, in fact, came to was to get rid of TV entirely. Or not really to get rid of TV, but not to bring a TV with us. And it's kind of funny that we had to come to this decision because with both my wife and I, what's weird about the modern world and what happens to you as you get older is with both my wife and I, before we got together, neither of us watched TV. I swear to you, swear to the Spaghetti Monster. With me and my entire my adult life, before I met her, I had only had cable TV for about 6 months. So when I moved to a particular apartment, when I got that apartment, I decided I would get cable TV. I got cable TV, had it for about 6 months until Comcast bought out the local cable provider. And basically Comcast was knocking on everybody's door and they said, hey, we just want you to know, we bought your local cable provider. Your bill's going to go from $30 a month to $40 a month. We just want to make sure that's okay with you. Sign here. And I looked at him and said, oh, you want another $10 a month for cable? Yeah, never mind. It was so funny. It was so funny looking at the guy's face. He was like, what? No, that's not the answer. I'm like, yeah, TV just doesn't really do it for me anymore, so I wasn't even sure I wanted to spend $30 a month on cable TV. So if you're going to raise it to 40, you can just take it away. And so really, like out of my entire adult life, I had TV about 6 months before I met my wife. And then when we got together, we had cable TV. We got cable TV at one point for like a year and got rid of it. But then we started, it's one of those weird things, like neither of us, and like she didn't have TV really either. And neither of us watched TV before we got together, but then once we got together, watching TV turned into one of those things that we could both do together that was fairly simple, fairly easy. It's one of those things where you think, well, I want to be with my spouse, we want to be together. You don't necessarily want to do anything that is too intellectually stimulating, and you've got a lot of time. And so just sitting in front of a TV, a screen for a while to watch things ends up being a good thing to do, right? So with us, we didn't have cable. We got cable TV, and then we got rid of cable TV, and basically we went straight to iTunes and using Hulu and all that. So we cut the cable years ago, but we have a 52-inch screen, and we watch Hulu and all that kind of stuff through it. And so we sit down, every night, and we watch a little hour or two of shows. And it's just that kind of thing to do together. But it's one of those things that both of us have been looking at for a long time, and have been really thinking, is this really what we want? It's kind of, again, it's one of those things that we've ended up doing because it's something that is easy. But you start watching so many of these TV shows, and you start thinking, again, I kind of talked about this yesterday, the whole thing of, is this really what I want to be putting into my brain? Is this really what I want to be putting into my head? And one of the problems, though, is when you have a big screen TV, and you have your little Amazon Fire TV, and you have the couch, and everything is set up, the idea of getting rid of your TV is really painful and hard. Like, if we were staying at this house for the next year, the idea of getting rid of the TV would be really painful. It wouldn't happen. It's just not going to happen, right? Just let's be honest. But with us now going in this RV and this trailer, it gives us a way to break away from what we have been doing to think about how we want to be moving forward into the future. And so what we've decided is to not have the TV, basically to get rid of the TV for our trips. So hopefully the idea, and it is, it's like, this goes back to that whole idea of the walk today. Like, I didn't even think about doing a walk, is I think about that with my wife. And, we don't just go on enjoyable walks. And you think about how these things change in our society where, only a generation ago, if you're sitting down and you're bored and there's nothing to do, you might look over to your spouse and say, hey, you want to go out on a walk? And you might just go out, you may just stroll for 2 or 3 miles or a mile or whatever. And you might not talk about anything in particular, and you might not do any big intellectual thing. You just go out there and you stroll. The reason you stroll, as people say, you go out for a stroll, is because you're bored, and strolling is more interesting than sitting on your butt, and therefore you go out and you do a stroll. No more intellectually stimulating than watching a TV show, but you do actually go out there and you get exercise and you get fresh air and you get sun and you see the neighbors, and there's all of these other things that go into you going out for a little stroll that are very useful for you. Instead of, just simply, sitting down in front of the TV and going, and one of the things I think about with TV too, as we're thinking about getting rid of it, is how many of these little triggers that you get from watching TV. I was thinking about that with how much alcohol I used to drink when I was running my company. So, I had my company, I had my employees, I'd work for like 12 hours a day, and then I would come home and, you're tired and you want to eat food and you start watching TV. And one of the things I was always thinking about during that time period, as I used to drink a lot of alcohol then, I was kind of worried about myself in some ways because, it's quite a bit of alcohol. But the weird thing is like after that was over, I still like my beer, but I've weaned myself off of it essentially. And so I think about it, it's like, what are the reasons that I did things like drink alcohol or ate the food I did, whatever, back then? And one of the things that I've noticed is in almost all the adult-oriented TV shows that we watch, there is always alcohol involved. And it's one of those little things that you don't think about. And it's not brought right into your face. And it's not pushed on you. It's not like buy a beer or buy wine or buy alcohol. It's that you're watching these adults as they go through their things. And in almost every single episode, it is grabbing a scotch. It is, hey, I'll get you a glass of wine. It is beer. And so you sit down after a long day of work and you're already exhausted and you're already tired. And then you're sitting there and you're watching this TV and there's all of these messages that are going on that again, it's not in your face. It's that nice subliminal stuff kind of going on in the background. And you're like, you know what? I would like some wine. I would like some beer. I would like X, Y, or Z food. And then you just sit there, right? It's one of those things to be thinking about. With what comes into your brain with TV and these things you watch. So we are getting rid of TV. No TV on our great adventure. So this should be interesting. And it is weird. I mean, I spent a chunk. So I've been with my wife. So I've been an adult. I left home when I was still 17, right? Yep, still 17. So I'm 38 now. So as of now, I've been an adult 21 years, and I've only had TV 9 of that, I can say. So 12 years. So 12 years of my life, I did not have TV. And yet after this 9, it is going to be weird to go back to an environment of not having it. It is kind of funny, like you think about it. You're like, what did I do back then? And you're like, oh, that's right. I went out and I took walks. I got fresh air and I read books and I did all that kind of stuff. So just a thought. Is TV good for you? I don't know. We're going to be trying to kill ours, and we're going to see how it goes. I remember I worked for a company that provided satellite TV services, and it was funny, and it is scary to think about with television in the modern world. Because when I got hired by the company, the person said that basically I never had to worry about my job. And I looked at them and I said, how the hell can anybody say that? And the hiring person said, well, the reason is we just did this really large research study on the American population. And this is what's kind of scary about things like TV, right? Because whether you like TV or whether you hate TV, I'm not going into that. Again, talking about this kind of stuff, I'm not moral on this. I'm not ethical. I'm not telling you what you should or should not do. I'm just kind of bringing this stuff up, right? But what's scary about television in the modern world is that, the human resources person was talking about it, and they had just done a study. And what they found was that when people were going bankrupt, right? When people were filing for bankruptcy, even when they were filing for bankruptcy, they did not perceive giving up cable or satellite TV as an option, right? So they are the F out of money. We're not talking about poor people. We're not talking about people who missed a bill or two. We're not talking about people who want to do better in life but aren't. We are talking about people that are literally going into bankruptcy because they cannot, they do not have the ability to pay their bills. And yet when they're going through the bankruptcy procedure, they do not even consider giving up their TV as an option. And that is where, with some of this stuff, you get a little scared. You get a little concerned, right? I completely understand if you like your TV. I completely understand if you want to spend $200 a month and all the bells and whistles of your TV. But when we get to a place when our society literally can't even imagine the concept of not having something like TV, or if you've already cut the cable, you know, Hulu and YouTube and all these other things, that is the point when it gets to be just a little bit concerning, right? Just a little bit concerning. So I don't know. Oh, we're going to cut this is going to be really, I'm going to tell you guys right now before we even leave, just so you guys know, this is going to be a really hard first month. Like, it's going to be really cool and exciting because we're going to be doing this, but in a lot of ways, and that's one thing to think about, whenever there's big life change, is just realize, like, the first month is going to be very, very, very difficult. There's going to be a lot of great and wonderful things, but there's going to be a lot of stuff to deal with. And that's what people don't think about whenever there's a big life change. They always think about the wonderful stuff. Isn't it going to be amazing to go to a warm climate? Isn't it going to be amazing to be able to pick up our home and move it wherever we want? They don't think about all these things like, well, what about the TV? We're going to be sleeping in a bed that's about half the size of the bed we currently sleep in. Our entire stove over here is, like that big. Yeah, there's going to be difficulties. But what I have found in life with all of these things is you kind of roll through it and you get past it and you learn to be comfortable. That's the weirdest thing. The weirdest thing, and this is one of those things that nobody ever talks about. It's one of those things that it's so weird because it's so powerful, and yet you never hear anybody talk about how hard it is. We always talk about acclimatization, like acclimating yourself to a new environment. So if you're going to go backpacking around the world, getting used to having everything in a backpack and moving by trains and doing this and doing that and getting used to trying to communicate with people that don't speak your language, acclimating to, if you join the military, acclimating to a military environment and going through boot camp or basic training and advanced training and getting shipped off somewhere, getting a travel trailer and going around. They always talk about acclimating. One of the things that they don't talk about, and we'll be curious how that works when we come back home, is reacclimating. And that's the thing, like when you go out, like everybody when people leave for something, everybody always thinks about how long it will take them to get used to the new environment. So I am leaving what I consider home to go off and do an adventure. And in the back of our heads, what we always think is this thing that we're on, this adventure that we're on, is something external to home. So home is where the heart is. Home is where we want to be. We're out on this adventure. But one of the things that nobody ever talks about is once the adventure is over and then you come back home, that you will have changed so much. So even when you come back to the home that you're used to, it won't feel the same anymore. Like you have this idea of, I'm going to go back home and I'm going to eat good food and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, I'm going to do the other thing, and then you come back home and you're like, wow, this is kind of boring. You know what I'm saying? Like, so this is what home is like. That is the alarm again. Why did the alarm go off? Everything is off in this thing. I even turned the propane off. Just so you guys know, just so you guys don't get all pissy with me, I literally turned the propane off. Oh. Red, green, let's see, red, green, red, green, green. Wait, no, it's red, green, red. Okay. Red, green, fault or low voltage. Oh.
maybe that is actually power. That's what I thought it was to begin with.
Huh. Alright, well, anyways. I think I probably need to plug the RV trailer into a power supply to recharge the battery. Maybe that's why it's screaming at me now. So I did look this time, darn it. I did look. And it says low voltage. And it's loud. Anyway. Why, Spaghetti Monster? Why? Anyways, with that, I will leave you with a couple of pictures of the beautiful little walk I did today by Lake Roland. And we will be off. But think about that with your TV. Again, I'm not telling you should hate your TV. I'm not telling you should give up your TV. But are you comfortable with the idea that you can't give up your TV? That is the question. And that alarm is not dangerous. Just so you know, that alarm is not dangerous.